Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans, it's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. Mostly that's Nick and I's role in this little shenanigans-filled endeavor. But without further ado, we're going to let our returning guest, Mr. John Epple, introduce himself to our listeners and viewers. I said readers. They're reading nothing here. They're watching and listening.
They're reading the show notes.
There you go, Nick. Save the day in a clinch.
Clutch player.
How's it going, everybody?
Doing good. So he's
that energy level, John.
Sorry, my that bang I had earlier, I guess, wore off.
So if you responded to the radio, we will not judge you because he was talking to you, dear listener. Yes, you, just you, not anyone else, just you. All right. Now that that's out of the way. Yeah. Now that that's out of the way, so the next part of the introduction is how we first found them. So this one came to me through the twisted and warped mind of Mr. Nick Garber. So Nick, how did you find John?
I found him. He was cold, left out in the rain on a far corner of Facebook, and I felt sorry for him. He looked at me with those puppy doe eyes, and I brought him in, got him warm, give him some kibble, put a blanket on him, and he's striving as a comic book artist now. So
yep.
That's why
he's got a thing for gingers.
I do.
Well, he doesn't have a soul to lose, so he's got no skin in the game.
I think I lost my soul somewhere around 2003. I'm sure someone picked it up. It's in a lost and found somewhere in Kandahar.
My ex-wife took mine, so whatever.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it right there.
You can't go anywhere.
No, you really can't.
No, not at all. All right, so now that we've got that out of the way, we got the religion questions. We're not forgetting this time. We took no end of heckling when we did that last time, and Stabby still won't let us forget it. So we mixed it up because you've been on here before, but Stargate, Warehouse 13, or Terra Nova?
Ooh, I like the change-up.
That's for you, John.
That's for you, John. Answer.
I wasn't listening. What?
That's what wives are for, not for guests on podcasts.
That's
all right,
true.
Religion question. Stargate, Warehouse 13, or Terra Nova?
Stargate. This was the only one I know of out of those.
Man, we got to widen your perception of reality, my man.
Well, I like Star Wars and Star Trek. I've seen Stargate. I have what was that Australian one? Farscape. That was pretty good.
Farscape, yeah.
Terra Nova was the one that was on Fox, so it only got one season. Fox Entertainment is where good shows go to die, and it was the idea they go through a parallel dimension or back in time. We never really got answers, and they end up in the prehistoric kind of ish era. So they were dinosaurs in sci-fi, and like what's not to love? So of course Fox Entertainment killed it.
They killed the Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
They ruined a lot of things, actually.
Which was an awesome show.
I remember that show vaguely. They got like 1 or 2 seasons, I think. That was about it.
Yeah, it had Bruce Campbell in it, kind of doing like it was a lot of weird stuff. It was like Doctor Who, but in the West and American, and no time travel. So it was just like a lot of weird stuff that he was doing, like in the 1800s. It was pretty crazy. I enjoyed it.
I liked Warehouse 13 though.
I have not seen that one.
I'm gonna have to look that one up. Most of the work I've had has been horror related, so that's been a lot of what I've been watching lately is various stages of horror movies and shows.
You've come to the right group, my friend.
Oh, good.
So Stabby, since
Shudder?
Do what?
Do you have Shudder? The movie streaming service?
Nope, not yet.
It's like Netflix for horror fiends.
Oh, I'll have to watch that.
All right, so Stabby, out of that, what are you picking? Stargate, Warehouse 13, or Terra Nova?
Warehouse 13.
It had Amanda Tapping in it, didn't it?
I absolutely loved that show.
Wait, are we talking about Stargate the show or the movie?
Either one, dealer choice.
Either one, yeah.
I like the movie more.
Did you just Caden noise on TV? Aw.
I hope not.
It's our stepson.
I wanted to make sure I was picking the right thing because I like the movie better than I did the show.
I like both for different reasons. So But yeah, Amanda Tapping for SG1 was good. The acting, I like to see Quantum Leap back. That was kind of cool.
That was
the remake.
Wasn't that the guy that was the no, he's MacGyver. He was MacGyver. There we go. Not Quantum Leap.
yeah. The dude from MacGyver was in the Stargate TV show, but I like the one with Kurt Russell better.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell?
The movie, yeah.
I liked all three, but Terra Nova had dinosaurs, so I don't know. But there's
I remember seeing commercials and stuff for Terra Nova.
But there was so little of it that it's just like there's just so much more content with Stargate, so it wins in a clinch. But the other part of that is Terra Nova was so short they didn't have time to ruin any of it with like jumping the shark. So, yeah.
But like with Warehouse 13, it's like Secret Service has to guard South Dakota's version of Area 51.
Yeah.
It's just too much fun. And then they keep releasing things that they're not supposed to and have to stop it before anybody finds out. And so
that sounds like the government.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Okay. Well, we've got some more questions because we're polytheistic here. Labyrinth, Legend, or Willow?
Oh, damn. I like all three for different reasons. I remember seeing Willow in theaters, though, so that was pretty awesome. And I've always had a thing for Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah.
She's on my Lemonade list.
Jennifer Connelly in Willow?
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that was Val Kilmer's ex-wife.
It's like you just totally confused me for a split second. No, she's in Labyrinth.
She is Labyrinth, but she's underage in Labyrinth, so I can't have the feels there.
No.
So I got to watch
underage when I saw the
Labyrinth
Labyrinth, though, so it was okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was a child. Now I'm still kind of a child, but that's neither here nor there.
We don't judge. All right. So what about you, Stabby? Well, not officially. Labyrinth. Yeah, a lot of girls choose that. David Bowie.
I love all three of them. I love Willow. I haven't watched the remake yet, or
the Willow the movie was a lot better than the TV show, I thought.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But I believe it was you that told me that Willow was wicked.
I liked Willow, the movie. I never watched the TV show, but apparently Willow was just clinging onto the IP and was nothing about the original. So
Not really.
I don't know where they got the name from, because it was in the Willow.
The character was there, but they just took it in the future, which they would have had to do, like the baby they saved in the movie. But then it was
Laura.
Yeah, but then it became
or something.
The same kind of trash you get from the political side of Hollywood that doesn't care about stories.
No.
So
I don't know. But, Willow had the best line in a movie ever. I stole the baby while that stupid Daikini was making a pee-pee.
Those brownies are awesome.
Yeah.
Until you put them on the TV show, and then
then they're not cool. Then they're not cool anymore.
What did you not like about them in the TV show? I never watched the show, so.
A lot of the charm that the movie had wasn't in the TV show, because I felt they were trying to do more of the politically correct nonsense and what was it, representation or I can't remember the proper term right now, but
diversity.
Yeah, the diversity nonsense that I don't know. It wasn't existent when we were kids, but yet somehow you still had diverse movies magically. They didn't shove it down your throat. But the TV show, to me, is like they were more concerned with that than trying to tell a good story.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, the funny thing is when the kids will be like, this is the first time we've had X. And then all the old school fans of all the different things are like, well, let me tell you where you're wrong.
Yeah. They don't, God forbid, because they don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
They say there's never been a strong female character. And then like there's the whole list that have been since like the dawn of
I've got entire playlists of stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's not that we don't like female-led movies. We just don't like bad female-led movies.
Yeah, I mean, Ellen Ripley was the shit.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Reminded me of a meme with all this stuff. especially when Black Panther was coming out, like, oh, Marvel's making a movie of their first black superhero. And then it showed a picture of Blade, and he's like, am I just a joke to you?
Yeah. So how easily people forget, or God forbid they do 5 seconds of research.
Well,
it's all for clicks, man. It's all for clicks.
Warwick Davis, who plays Willow, is also in the Labyrinth. But he also plays like 5 different people in the Star Wars universe.
He's been Harry Potter as well.
He was the Goblin, wasn't
he?
Yeah.
He plays 2 characters, actually.
Banker.
He plays Professor Flitwick.
Yep.
And he plays Grip Hook, the bank teller.
You freaking nerd.
He was in those god-awful Leprechaun movies, too.
One of us! One of us!
That was an insult to Irish people everywhere.
And did the Irish complain? No, they didn't. They just ate another potato and drank some whiskey and carried on.
Pretty much.
Whoa. And then we got a fist fight afterwards. Jesus.
That's how we show emotion.
Yeah. All right.
Drinking and eating potatoes, obviously.
We've got a bonus question for the religion question today, and there is a wrong answer for this one. Batman, Superman, or Captain America?
Think of what day we're on.
Green Lantern.
Oh, secret option 4. I always lean into Captain America because he was in the army, but I imagine there has to have been other army superheroes. I'm just not well versed.
Well, I like them all but for different reasons.
Yeah.
Batman is awesome because he is completely human, but yet he's on the Justice League. He can go toe to toe with anybody, whether physically or mentally, and he can outmaneuver anybody you can put him up against.
The Justice League. You mean Batman and his 4 bitches?
Pretty much.
You have Captain America.
I did see recently, though, someone had posed the question on what if you thought who would do better in a fight between Batman and Captain America. I would just get some popcorn and watch the show because it would be entertaining no matter what.
Yeah, it's kind of like Kevin McAllister against the Predator.
Yeah. Oh, that would be a fun one too.
Depending how much prep time Kevin has.
It's like Cap versus Iron Man.
Well, see, the cool thing about Iron Man is he's human too. It shows you that you can do a lot of things if you got the wallet deep enough.
Yeah.
But
to afford a $6.5 billion suit.
Yeah, but I know a lot. So my youngest is Stabby. Hush. Be nice. My youngest is into robotics because of Iron Man. Like, I wonder how, just like I imagine some of the mech stuff inspires the young Japanese kids that grow up seeing that to like, and that's not a bad thing that it can inspire people to do some real world good too, instead of just, jumping because you can fly because wave your hand reason why. Like that inspires people. Yeah. Well, you and I were in the same class at the master's class for Hand Waving University. So, but I do like the superheroes that encourage you to do well in a way that can translate literally because they're human just like you.
Yeah. Well, even to a point, I like Superman because he doesn't necessarily rely on his power to win the day. If he needs to outthink an opponent, he does, and he has the power to go against somebody like Doomsday. But he doesn't just blindly just throw a punch when he could outthink his opponent if he needs to.
Yeah, he's a tactician.
Yeah.
He's the tactician in the DCU.
Yeah.
All right. Well, shit. We're supposed to be partying here in Gotham City because today's
Well, we got one more question because this was not a religion question the last time we was on, so you're not ready for this one. But because because Stabby is not a knuckle dragging troglodyte like the rest of us, coffee or tea? And how do you take it? She's a lady. Gosh dang it.
She's a refined lady.
So coffee or tea, Evil Ginger?
I like coffee.
How do you drink your coffee? Black like your soul?
No, a little creamer, flavored creamer. That's it.
So we actually had we won't say who yet, but we had a coffee company pick us up to sponsor us. So we have ordered samples because we don't want to shill it if it's not actually good.
So that's valid concern.
So we ordered some samples, but Stabby got really excited by the blueberry coffee flavor thing they had going on. She was like, "Oh, I'm trying that one," because we coordinated what we ordered. So we didn't all order the same thing, so we could just try it.
Hey, at least it's not pumpkin spice.
They
I
had that.
figured you'd be all about that, evil ginger.
I'm not a basic white girl.
I am a basic white girl. So I like me some pumpkin spice, but when I was driving by Wendy's and I saw a pumpkin spice Frosty, I was just like, no, not only no, but hell's no. The only way to drink a Frosty or eat it, whatever you consider it, is the chocolate version. Even vanilla is not a valid Frosty.
No.
Ooh,
I hate Starbucks just because it's like basic bitch coffee.
Yeah.
Basic-ish coffee.
Yes.
For Han Solo season. I love when JR puts on his leggings and his Ugg boots and he puts his vest on. And he's out there on a fall day when the leaves are coming down.
Don't forget the earmuffs.
He's got his Starbucks going on. He just sips it like a child. Just
Kimmy, my missus has gotten me spoiled on coffee, so I don't even bother. That, and she threatens to hurt me whenever I go out and buy coffee, so I usually don't even bother anymore. She actually has a cold brew that she makes.
Oh,
fucking delicious! Oh my god.
Okay.
So when I was looking at the flavors on this coffee site, they have like the bourbon brew, and they had the pumpkin pie spice. But then they had one called spiked jack-o'-lantern, and it has bourbon flavors in the pumpkin flavors. But that blueberry crumble.
Yeah, they also had a bourbon flavored, and I was Nick when we told him, he's like, "Why not just add real bourbon, like a man?"
Yeah, I've got whiskey on top of my fridge.
Yeah. All right, so we've answered the religion question. Now let's talk about what brought us here. So we're just doing an impromptu episode, and Nick wanted something that could get his evil ginger friends involved in the party because we're out for stealing souls, and I can say that because my mom is an evil ginger. So with that being said, that's a good thing she doesn't listen to these episodes. So with that being said, obviously we're here, if you read the title, to talk about Batman. So we're going to go round robin real quick. And what was your first, where did you find Batman for first time? And if you want me to go first, because I know my answer, I can.
Yeah, go ahead, because I'm thinking about mine.
My grandfather used to watch all the old shows, Grandpa Handley, and so we would sit around, and so he liked the original OG Batman. Let me throw that up there for you, dear listener. For you youngins who don't know, like that OG Batman where it was like when you punch, it'd be like the sis boom, whatever on top of the head and all that cool.
It wasn't these ones, though.
This isn't it? I just grabbed
No, you're short about 20 years.
So I was limited to what was in the Creative Commons for art, so we did not get the violation with the images.
Yeah, well, that's good. I hate it when they shut us down.
So that's a pretty cool modern interpretation of something.
I like it.
The DC thing.
My boy drew that one.
Oh, you know who drew that?
Good old Jim Lee. Jim Lee drew that. Yeah.
The Legos are always cool. The Lego versions of the things. I'm here for Legos.
There you go. That's
like more like the original.
One of my favorites has always been Kelly Jones. His style is, to me, so unique. Something about how awkward it is, I don't know, but I love Kelly Jones' artwork.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive stuff.
I've got an entire Kelly Jones section of my collection.
Okay. So, all right. So how did everyone else first get introduced to the wild world of Gotham City?
I'm gonna say
John, you got your answer? All right.
I'm gonna say either the TV show that you're talking about, I saw it in reruns as a kid, or
Nick at Night,
the Batman movie, the first one.
Yeah, 89.
Yeah, I was 12 or so I was at the perfect age to see Batman on TV, or in the theater.
Was that the one with Michael? Was it Michael Keaton in that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Sparkle Boy.
Not Sparkle Boy.
I don't know. He was a good Batman.
Yeah. I'll take your word for it.
You haven't seen it?
I don't like him as an actor, so I don't watch anything else he's been in.
It's worth a shot. So if
Eh,
you're bored and you've ran out of stuff to watch, and if you like, it depends on the type of Batman you like. I think if you like the detective, then this Batman's right up your alley. If you want the action hero, then it's probably not so much, even though there is pretty decent action in there.
well, to me, he's the same character in every movie, and plus, he's not built to be Batman. Batman is a big dude. He's got height because I think he's actor is like 6'1", so the height's kind
Yeah,
of
he's
negligible.
6'1", 6'2", yeah.
Yeah, but he's about as skinny as I am, so he's not built to be Batman.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be like a Batman Year One, so I mean, if you take that into account, I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
enjoyed it. I'm not going to force anybody else to go watch it because I know
Yeah,
when people hype on me, hey, you got to see this movie. It's the greatest thing ever. I'm not going to overhype it. It's enjoyable. There was a lot of good performances from the supporting cast that I really enjoyed. Different take on the Riddler as like a serial killer type guy.
see, I thought that was a lazy design too for the Riddler. Just
Yeah,
from the
they're also
trailers I
trying to.
saw, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, they tried to ground it in a reality, closer to ours instead of going full Jim Carrey.
Well, see, I can see that too, but it was Carlos Danda, I think. He had designed a rockabilly type design for the Riddler, and
Oh,
that's
that would
always
be
been
neat.
my favorite. So something like that. I mean, he had fairly realistic clothes. They were stylized, but I liked his take on the Riddler more than a lot of the other ones. But that one in that movie, just from what I saw of the trailers, I'm like, I don't know about all that.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you all, and I'll bore you all in how I fell into the lore of Batman. I was familiar with the Adam West series,
Yep.
and I used to watch that quite on Nick at Night, Nickelodeon. Um, then I started getting into like back issues, like from the '70s of Batman. So that's Neil Adams. It's all his work, and I was like, oh man, this is really cool stuff, because I was fascinated by the artwork. And then Batman '89 came out with Keaton, and I was like, because when that, like, I was following it through, I don't know if it was Wizard magazine or Comic Zine or one of those publications from like the mid to late '80s. But they're like, oh man, this Batman movie's ruined. They hired Mr. Mom to be Batman, and then you got, Jack Nicholson to be the Joker. I just don't see it. And I was like, oh man, this movie's gonna suck. And then I went there opening night. I went to the midnight showing. Me and my friend James Clark, we rode our bikes from one side of town to the other because it's Modesto, California, home of American Graffiti and George Lucas. At the time, it was very Mayberry small town vibes. And you could ride your bike from one side of the town to the other without worrying about getting kidnapped or whatever. And I sat there and we waited in line for like an hour and a half. Finally got in, and then just the opening sequence, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, Nicholson wasn't built for the part, but the way his acting, though, I think made up for the difference.
Yeah, he was more of a high-calorie Joker, as I like to call him.
Yeah.
The guy likes to eat, and he's a mob boss, so why wouldn't he?
Yeah. And I liked him better than the Batman that was in like Super Friends and stuff too. I grew up watching Super Friends.
Oh, so yeah, I did too.
So between him and like the cheesy Batman TV show, that may have been like some of my earliest memories of the character, whatever comic books I happen to read. But yeah, I think the first Batman movie was my first, I think, real exposure to the character.
Yeah. Stabby, how did you get introduced to the Cape Crusade?
No, it's not.
So, actually, my grandpa introduced me to Keaton as Batman in 1989. I was 2 years old, and he realized when I was very, very young that I was not the typical girly girl. I did not want Barbies. I did not want dollies. I wanted G.I. Joes and Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. So he introduced me to Keaton as Batman, and I absolutely fell in love with Batman. So when Batman Returns came out in 1992, growing up in Vegas, we get amazing things every now and then, and they had the Batmobile and Keaton as Batman at the Excalibur. My grandmother just happened to work at the Excalibur, so there is a picture of me crying the happy tears that don't look happy in the picture, but happy tears next to the Batmobile, and just out of frame, I was the next in line to meet Keaton as Batman, and I was 5 years old. So
Awesome.
Batman's always been kind of my go-to superhero, and then of course, you know, my mom and my grandma didn't want me to be that little tomboy. They wanted me to be a girly girl, bought me the Barbies, so I would steal my brother's comic books when he wasn't looking, so I could read the Batman comics every time he got them. But
Oh, wow.
we recently saw the new Batman movie, and I was like, oh my god, okay. And then we saw The Flash, and I was like, oh my god, that's my guy. And then at the very end, I was like, oh, nipples. Because George Clooney.
I didn't think George Clooney was a bad Batman. I think he was a better Bruce Wayne.
I think he just had a shit script.
The nipples on the armor too never made sense either.
Nipples. Yeah. That's the first word out of my mouth. Nipples.
All the time. Nipples.
I mean, if we're going purely by build, I think Affleck had the best overall look for the characters. I thought he played both aspects of Batman well. But yeah, some people are just, they can't seem to handle that. So like whatever. I
also like Christian Bale as Batman. I think he played a very rugged, beat up Batman. I really dug him as Batman too. If we're going detective Batman, Pattinson. I like him as detective.
We're losing John already.
Batman, but he was so scrawny.
He is.
He was scrawny.
He's not a built individual. He's as skinny as I am.
So all right, so let's for those who aren't as huge into the lore, because like Nick and you are comic book nerds, because that's kind of your side hustle or your full-time job, depending. So what is an ideal Batman for you? Take out the actors that have played him. Describe an ideal Batman. Aside from, obviously, he's rich, because that's in the canon.
He's got to be smart.
Yeah. I think he has to definitely be physically fit, because he's doing all that, the way he's doing the crime fighting. But I could see agile and I don't know how you say Lithe, like, svelte, I guess. That could work if he's got the fighting style that enhances speed. But I also see, some of the comics in some of the movies, he's like going toe to toe, and in which case he kind of needs to be a bruiser.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always liked about Batman, because he's fought people like Deathstroke, who is essentially an evil Captain America. He's a super soldier, so he's got augmented strength and everything that goes along with that, reflexes and all that stuff. He's smarter than your average opponent. Batman is completely human, but yet he has to compete with people like Deathstroke, as well as people like Killer Croc or Clayface or any of his other myriad of villains.
Right. The thing with Batman, in my opinion, is he's the peak human being. He's he's trained his mind and his body to such a point. Now, he's not a power lifter. I mean, even though some people draw him like that, like he's like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's not. He has more of a, I've always seen it as like a gymnast build. And if you've ever seen a gymnast, they got size, but they're agile and they're flexible.
Yeah.
They look like they can take a punch. And there's got to be a level of ferocity there, a little contained madness. I think the portrayals that I've seen of him throughout the years, whether it be animated or not, or live action, there's a touch of crazy, just enough to make him want to do this, and just enough to take a hit from someone like Clayface, and just stand back up and be like, "Is that all you got?" and spit a tooth out.
That's how I see Batman as well as like more of a gymnast build, because whenever I draw him, that's what I'm thinking of. Because like Bane has more of a bodybuilder, an exaggerated bodybuilder type build, but yet Batman, who's probably about as tall as Bane himself before he grows big and all that stuff. But
Yeah, for the Venom.
But he's got more of a. I've always pictured him roughly say 6'3" and like 220, 230, somewhere around that neighborhood. So he would have to be not ripped, but built well to do that. He's not bulky, but yet his muscle has a purpose, and he's not there just to try to, when he does work out or exercise, whatever, he's not doing it just to look good. He's doing it for a reason.
And I think Batman versus Superman kind of showed his workout perfectly. It was all functional workouts. It was like CrossFit type stuff. So he's like banging the tire with the hammer. He's doing squats because legs are very important. He wants that power. So that's kind of that's also how I see him. Sorry. As far as like build and workout and then nutrition wise, who cares? I mean, he's probably burning like 10,000 calories a night while he's out there.
I wouldn't doubt it.
You know, then he's we got to think about like his grappling hook, his grappling gun. You know, so he's got to have really strong tendons. So he's got to do a lot of workouts that kind of strengthen those tendons in his shoulder area, so he doesn't rip his arm out of the socket every time he, shoots off into the skyline. That's what she said. Yeah.
So are there, like, obviously technology changes, and so the later, like the more modern interpretations of Batman have different tech, obviously, than they gave him in the early days when, they were limited by the ability to recreate things on the show and the creativity of the time. Like, so it was, the technology he had was paralleled very, when it was drawn. So are there any iconic things of Batman's tech that have been there the whole time that you like? Other than like the Batmobile?
The Batwing, I guess. Gun. I mean, that's always been a thing as far as I can remember.
The Batarangs.
The Batarangs, that's his go-to and multi-purpose weapon, too. I've seen him using it defensively and offensively.
The grappling hook, in my opinion, when he first started out in the 30s, it was still a grappling hook, but didn't have any power behind it. It was a battering that folded in half with a line attached to it. Yeah. Now he's got like different things that go through different materials, because through these endless stories, because I think we're over 1,000 issues on Batman now.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, I remember I got the anniversary figure, and it came with a comic book. Jim Lee did the comic book. He did the cover for it. I don't know if he did the actual comic, but I know for sure he did the cover because I bought it because it was Jim Lee. And I had a point I was making. I lost it.
Favorite tech was
the tech thing. It's because we had shown through all these, 1,000 issues worth of stories throughout the decades that buildings have been made with different materials since the 30s. It's not just steel girders and concrete anymore. We got some different stuff going on. I'm not even going to try and fucking baffle you with bullshit on that one, on what they're made of, because I don't have that degree. But he's over years of these stories and different encounters and different situations, he's had to advance his tech or modify his tech because he learns from his mistakes, kind of like Iron Man does. And he's like, oh man, it would have been great if I had a grappling hook that just punched through solid steel. Oh, okay, well here's how we're going to do that. And then they use the science to kind of they do the hand waving, but it's still kind of settled in science, just enough for you to believe it. His tech's really been awesome. That and his underwater rebreather that doesn't require a full tank and mask or anything.
It's one thing I've always loved about him and been frustrated at the same time. That is how he's always prepared for every situation. It's like all he might know is, oh no, Killer Croc is being a dumbass, so he needs to go fight him. Somehow he knows to grab his Killer Croc equipment. That way he's ready for whatever, or Mr. Freeze or whoever. I'm like,
and it all fits on his belt.
Did you just pull that out of his ass? I mean, where did that come from?
Never leave home without it.
Because that show that Jeff Matsuda did for Batman. I've been watching that on Netflix with my 7-year-old, and he's forever pulling out some cool looking little gadget, like you're talking about, just the batarangs. And I'm like, those have been stepped up a lot with the design purpose, and that Batmobile might be my favorite because it looks like probably one of the coolest looking Hot Wheels I've ever seen.
Yeah. That's pretty cool looking.
So we've talked a little bit about like some of the tech. Do you guys have a favorite villain from the franchise?
Ooh.
Joker.
I like Mr. Freeze because they made his origin story so believable. I think it's probably one of the best written villains I've seen.
I do love Mr. Freeze. I love his backstory. I love why he's doing everything. Penguin was always fun. I mean, come on, how can you not love Danny DeVito as Penguin? But I always go back to the Joker because he says it himself in Batman the Animated Series, and I believe in one of the movies, I can't remember which one right now, but he says, we can't live without each other. How many times did he have Batman tied up and he never tries to take his mask off? He never tries to figure out who he is.
Yeah.
Because he says it right then and there. He's like, I would never take off his mask, Harley. I wouldn't do it because we can't live without each other. And it's that moment that you're sitting there and you're like, that's true. They never actually try to kill each other. He never tries to unmask Batman because that's like his other half.
I've never understood that about Batman. As much as Joker infuriates the ever-loving shit out of him, how is he not just said, screw it, and try to kill Joker?
No kill rule.
He's got that no kill rule, and he I think the other part is I think if he lost Joker, he would be lost. Like, he could get rid of absolutely everybody else, anybody else, and he'd be perfectly fine. He'd be perfectly fine. Scarecrow who, you know? But I think without Joker, he'd be sitting there in the Batcave just like, what are we going to do tonight, Alfred?
So, has the Batcave always been there?
As far as I know.
Yeah, since hold on, let me get the
I
exact
would
date.
say the very beginning, but I would say
I was in the first 3 issues. Yeah, 1938 was the first appearance of the Batcave.
I mean, who didn't watch the original series and not want the phone that like opens the wall and you could just slide down the fireman's pole into your secret?
It was a Shakespeare's head. It was a bust of Shakespeare, and you lifted the head up. And
that opened all I remember was him sliding down the pole and thinking, I definitely want somewhere where I can have a mountain like underneath me so I can have a cave. And how cool is that?
Oh, yeah. That'd be super awesome.
Now, was his parents always dead? Was that always the origin story, or did that come later?
As far as I know.
The origin story. That was always the origin story. They touched on a little bit in the very first issue, and they elaborated just a tad more because it was the 30s. It was comic books. It was throwaway entertainment back then.
Yeah.
You know, so they didn't get really too involved. It wasn't. I think it wasn't until after. It was when Neil Adams run. So we're talking about the 70s when Batman was trying to get away from the camp of the television show and make it more dark and brooding. They started really going into that, into the death of his family and how it molded him and drove him to, instead of going to therapy like anybody else would, he says, I'm just going to beat the hell out of criminals.
Well, that was his therapy.
Well, yeah, it's like going to the gym or,
yeah,
eating ice cream. But,
well, speaking of eating ice cream and being happy, we're going to pause for a moment while we shamelessly shill for the man, and it is a man this time. It's a man, baby.
I know
You
that, dude.
sponsored us, Nick, but we really got to get you to remake the commercial that works for the audio only. It was a lot of pretty pictures from his own comic books, dear listener over there.
I got to do a voiceover of that.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of clever product placement, I just happen to be wearing my Batman shirt.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Yeah. Got some wearing it too, man. You got the distressed logo going. I dig it.
The Batman.
Yeah, that's what made me think of that show that I was showing my daughter.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I like the Joker in that one too because they had like these like green dreads, and he was like super crazy. And he was wearing a straitjacket the whole time.
She doesn't like that because of that, because it's not the regular Joker. I'm like,
I wasn't a huge fan of Tattoo Joker.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Leto either, but
oh, he was horrible.
the whole hand thing, I never got that.
No, it was lame. It's probably because the explanation was that Batman had broken his dang teeth, and he still wanted that smile, so he put it on his hand. So
they were trying too hard. And I've always been a big Suicide Squad fan, but I did not like that Joker.
Second one was good.
I like
James Gunn one.
I love Harley.
I know you do.
I love Harley. How can you not?
I hated Birds of Prey. Oh my god, that was
a horrible movie.
They took the name and just did whatever the hell they wanted with it.
Yeah, it was bad. Now we've been watching the old early 2000s series Birds of Prey.
Yes.
I knew it was a thing, but I never
It lasted one season. It lasted one season, and it was pretty good. They took some creative license with a lot of things.
Well, they had Batgirl in.
You had Oracle in it. And that was cool. But,
and then they have Batgirl, and I wasn't too fond of what's her name, Huntress.
Oh yeah, Huntress was garbage in that show. I mean, she was cool, but like her backstory was just horrible.
I did like the one they had in Green Arrow. That was a fairly accurate.
Yeah, that was a good one. I think that was a fair representation of what she's like in the comics. Of the crime boss daughter that decides to just become a vigilante and fight her father.
So, since you guys are both comic book creators, I try to make it sound all fancy. Creators. Would you, if they offered you and said, "Hey, come draw this Batman. You can write a Batman story," would you do it?
See, that's
I'd go
a tough
draw.
question.
Yeah.
That's a tough question. As much as I would love to do it, I would also hate it because I know they wouldn't pay me legitimately, and I wouldn't own anything I did. So they would fuck me over with the contracts and stuff like that too. So it's like and plus I'm afraid that because I have a unique style that doesn't look like what they're doing, that right there would be a reason why I don't think they'd ever hire me. Not that I'm some magnificent artist. I know I'm not, but my work looks nothing like any of their house styles. To me, a lot of what they're doing now is just plain boring. And I don't know. I can't even read most Marvel and DC stuff anymore.
Yeah, I think the last good Batman story arc they had was the Court of Owls.
That was pretty good.
And you had an awesome art team on there. You had Scott Snyder writing it, and then you had Greg Capullo drawing it.
Yeah. Well, anything Greg Capullo does, I'm automatically a fan.
Well, yeah, he's the right hand man of Todd McFarlane for years on Spawn. So anybody that can pull a Spawn book can definitely pull a Batman book. Spawn's hard to draw.
Yeah.
As simple as he is, he's hard to draw.
Oh, he is. I've done it a few times, and I only do it now if somebody pays me.
Yeah. And that's usually in the hundreds before I even attempt a Spawn. So
yeah.
Because it's going to eat up. So just the chains alone is going to eat up at least 12 hours of my time.
But at the same time, though, because of what little experience I do have in the field, I don't even really do fan art that much anymore. Because it's just like, well, why bother? If someone pays me to commission me to draw Batman, Spawn, or whatever, that's one thing. But as far as doing it on my free time in my sketchbook, I don't even do it anymore. I mainly it's because I don't have time. But it's just, I don't know. I just don't even see the point in doing it anymore when I could be drawing something of my own.
I encourage Nick, because he still likes to draw his favorite comic books. I'm like, Nick, draw stuff you can sell. Stabby needs a new pair of shoes.
She does. She just sent me links to like 3 of them on OfferUp.
The high tops, is it?
You
digging the high tops still? Yeah, the Vans.
She's a Vans fanatic, so she doesn't have a pink set, I guess.
I don't have a pink set.
So
I used to be like that with Chuck Taylors. I had at least 3 or 4 different pair, depending on what colors I wanted for that outfit. I finally outgrew that phase because it got too expensive. It's a fairly simple shoe. There's nothing to it. I shouldn't have to pay more than $50 for a pair of Chuck Taylors.
I have about 50 pairs of Chuck Taylors.
I
had those before I met him.
I even got my my oldest daughter when she was a toddler. I got her Chuck Taylors as well. As she was learning how to walk, she had pink ones, purple ones, and got to be damn rainbow. And before she finally outgrew them all.
I actually wore a pair of red, sparkly Click Your Heels Dorothy Converse for our wedding.
Awesome.
So, with the since we've talked about Batman, you can't have. Well, some people don't think you can have Batman without Robin. So, when did that come into the picture? Was he always there? And what do you think of him as a sidekick?
He was an early sidekick in the series. I don't know exactly when.
Issue 2 or 3.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Issue 3 is when Joker showed up.
Yeah. I do like the almost family aspect of Robin, because inevitably whoever he chooses to take on that mantle does become family of sorts. Even Jason Todd. I thought that was good storytelling because no one expected at the time that you were going to kill Batman's sidekick. And not only that,
I called in and
most
voted
brutal way possible
with a crowbar.
Yeah. Oh my god.
In the library.
Okay, so before that, they had a 1-900 number to call in and vote whether Robin lives or dies because they left it on.
I vaguely remember that. I never called it in.
Now this is the first time I got my ass whooped by my parents for calling a 1-900 number.
Mine was for He-Man. We've had this discussion before.
Yeah,
still better.
Yeah. So I called up and I was like, "Kill him, kill him."
I really liked what was his name? Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh,
see, I was interested in that storyline too. How they ended that movie. I'm like, okay, yeah. He looked like he could fit the part.
Oh yeah,
and then
he would have been an awesome true Robin.
They just slowly kind of drip fed him until the very end, and then he's like, "Well, this is my whole name," and you're like, "Yeah."
That was probably the weakest name drop in cinematic history, though.
It was because they could have done it more like his actual origin, but I didn't mind how they did. Because normally I'm a stickler for stuff like that. If you're going to make a movie off of a known franchise, you need to make it as close to what made it so popular in the first place. If you're going to carry it over to a different medium,
they could have made him like Officer Gray,
yeah,
and then at the end revealed that his name was Richard Grayson.
Yeah,
there's so many other avenues of artistic expression they could have done with that without, and not being it on the nose and not being so vague that the common movie viewers like, Robin, what is that?
Well, I didn't even mind Chris O'Donnell's take on the character.
No, he was good. He's really tall, though. Really tall for a Robin, and really old for a Robin.
Well, Robin was like, 13, 14, something like that, when I guess he
was a young teenager.
Yeah. So outside of that, I thought that his take on the character wasn't too terrible.
Well, there was a time where Marlon Wayans was going to play Robin.
Oh, I'm glad that never happened.
You also have to, if you're going to talk about Robin, you have to remember Robin in the Batman Lego movie.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He's like, I can't wear these pants. That was so great. Why are you still here? Because you're my dad.
Oh man, the Lego
You
Batman.
guys are having way too much fun. I don't know if DC is going to allow this. They might have to do like some sort of strike.
Whatever.
We're not allowed to have
hired.
guys.
We'll probably get hired as like Batman historians or something.
So, what do you think of the some of the offshoots where they didn't kill Robin and he sort of does his own thing, like Teen Titans, that became the Titans TV show on HBO, which is very dark and gritty, which I liked.
Oh yeah, with Dick Grayson, I love
Yeah.
Titans.
It took me a while to watch that Titans show because I saw all the previews and then me being a stickler for detail the way I am. At first, I was like, "Oh hell no," and I finally was like, "Okay, let me try it out." I like the series for the most part, and it's got its problems, but overall, I found it entertaining, and I'm glad that I tried the show out.
Yeah, it was a little slow going that pilot episode, that first one, and then when he shows up in costume and lands on the car, and they're like, "Oh, Batman ain't with you tonight." And he's like, "F Batman." I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah,
all right." I'm like, that's a little off, but I can see it. We've placed this in the super gritty real world. He's tired of being a sidekick. He wants to be his own hero.
Well, yeah, that was originally why he moved to Bloodhaven, because he wanted to be his own person. I thought that was good characterization and storytelling, showing the characters trying to develop into their own personality. But I remember reading in the 80s when he first became Nightwing. I thought that was some good stuff.
Yeah.
So what did you think of the change? Because originally it wasn't that the cops were corrupt as Gotham got darker. It was just that Batman was there to sort of pick up the slack with this super special kind of crooks. What do you think of the evolution where the cops became almost as much a part of the problem as the villains in Gotham?
That happened. That started becoming a thing, like the corrupt cop angle. That was
In the
during
90s,
Neil
I think,
Adams'
right?
run. Well, it started off during Neil Adams' run in the 70s.
I didn't know it went back that far.
Oh yeah, it went back all the way to the 70s. I think like the mid 70s, somewhere around there. Where I don't know. I guess people were getting tired of like the freak of the week, as kind of like where that term comes from, is that there was some new, larger than life villain that was showing up. So they really wanted to focus more on the detective side of things, and then they brought in the corruption of the cops, because the mafia was kind of like the main villain during that era. That's where you start getting into like Falcone and
I did enjoy the long or was it the long Halloween or whatever it was? I can't remember.
Yeah, the long Halloween.
Right now. I've enjoyed all of the DC animated movies, but that one I think was one of the better ones, because while it had the rare obscure characters that I enjoy, it mainly
like Calendar Man.
Yeah, it mainly focused on the street level opponents that Batman had to take on, instead of just saying, "Oh, look, he's fighting another supervillain."
Well, and that's what I liked about the Pattinson movie, is that it's very close to the Long Halloween.
Yeah.
It's just missing Calendar Man, but I would still like to see him on screen, even though he's not a very
he's not a very
villain.
effective person at all. But this one thing I enjoy about Batman, besides the visual aspect of his rogues gallery, that right there would be enough for me to want to draw a Batman book. That way, because I remember David Finch did some of his later stuff he did on Batman, and I was looking at it just to see how he would draw all these other random Batman villains, because they so many different shapes and sizes that it would be a nightmare, but it'd be fun challenge at the same time.
The way he drew Clayface was pure nightmare fuel.
Oh yeah,
he was probably one of my favorite villains, just aesthetically and what he can do. I'm a big fan of Scarecrow.
Yeah,
I was just gonna
his
say it's
Finch's
Scarecrow and
Scarecrow is one of my
Batman.
favorites.
Yeah.
And I liked how what was it? Murphy? How he I've got an early was it Gordon? Oh hell, I can't remember. Was it Gordon Murphy or whatever?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I've got his books over. Sean Murphy. God bless. Sean Gordon Murphy. I've got some of his early Batman stuff he did where he did a Scarecrow book. It was only like 2 or 3 issues, I believe it was, but it
was a short arc.
It wasn't as detailed as Finch's, but it was a unique style that I still enjoy. So Scarecrow would be a fun challenge just because he's so emaciated. It would be more of a challenge to draw him than it would like Bane or Killer Croc and stuff like that because they're so much bigger.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Cillian Murphy?
Cillian Murphy played
Cillian
Scarecrow
Murphy.
in the.
I mean,
in
I don't
the-
like him.
Really,
He was
I like
built. He's
him.
built for the role. He has the right look for it. That mask was shit to me, but
I thought the coolest he looked was when he was riding the horse in the straitjacket in Batman Begins.
that would
I
have
was like,
freaked anybody out.
I'm like, that's Scarecrow right there. And
Yeah.
then when you get to Dark Knight, he's wearing a suit. You know, buyer beware. You know. And then he was the judge in Dark Knight Rises, of the Kangaroo Court.
Maybe I was thinking of. I may have been thinking of one of the Green Arrow villains that had a cheesy Brother Blood or something like that.
Yeah, they did some cheesy stuff with Arrow because the way they did Arrow was just they wanted to do Batman, but they didn't want
He's
to do a
never been a
Batman series.
vigilante, but I did enjoy that series overall. But yeah, they made him scarily like Batman instead of being his own character.
Don't get me started on Arrow.
So
I think the best representation of Green Arrow. I'm sorry.
Since you mentioned
That's what got me
Green
started
Arrow,
on the WB shows.
since you mentioned Green Arrow, do you have a favorite franchise crossover that Batman has done?
Spawn. And Daredevil. The one he did with Daredevil is pretty good too.
The Swarm with Spawn, I've still got that from when I was a kid, so that was pretty great, just because of the artists that were involved. But I don't know. For me, I've always been into it more with the artist that drew it over like particular storylines. Because for me, comics has always been a visual medium. If the writing is just as good, then that's a perk for me. But for me, it doesn't matter how well it's written. If the art is garbage, I won't buy it.
Yeah, I'm the same.
So do you prefer it in comic form, or because there have been some actual novelizations, and obviously they've got the movies?
Yeah, I've got a book, a novel that because we did a lot of road trips as kids, or when I was a kid, and some truck stop we stopped at. I found a paperback novel of Batman that I've got up here.
Oh wow!
Nice.
The spine is ruined. That's how long I've had it and how many times I've read it. But
Because you've enjoyed it.
I'll never get rid of it. It's like an anthology book. Several different writers wrote in it. But yeah, I'll never get rid of this book. But here's a list of some of the writers.
Hold on, let me see if I can. I had to remember how to get it to solo layout. There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
So it's Isaac Asimov, Greg Alec Effergan, Howard Goldsmith, Karen Harbour, and Robert Silverberg, Stuart Karnitsky, William F. Nolan, Robert Shalecki, Max Allen Collins, Ed Gorman, Edward D. Hawk, Joe Lansel. I didn't know he did that. Mike Resnick, didn't know he did either. Henry Slezar and Edward Whelan. So if you're listening at home, that's who's on the cover or the back of the book.
Yeah. That was probably some of the earliest Isaac Asimov work that I've ever read. I mean, I know he's not known for doing Batman at all, but still, it's probably still one of my favorite books.
So I'm a sucker for any, superhero spinoff. I will give it my all to watch it and to not judge it off the bat. Like, that's always been my thing. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go in here with no expectations, and I'm just gonna see if I like it. And with Green Arrow, I really did like it for the first couple seasons until it became the Felicity show.
Yeah,
And then
the last couple of seasons, I agree, it got kind of silly.
They did the same thing with the Flash. Like, I absolutely loved the first season, even the second season of Flash. And then when he married her and got her pregnant, and she goes, "We are the Flash."
Well,
I'm like,
he
no,
is the world's fastest man.
Yeah, I'm like, we are not the Flash. He is the Flash. Barry Allen is the Flash. Yeah. You're his chick. Like, that would be like me saying, "Hey, babe, we are the Apogee creators." No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. You exactly. And that's I read the scripts. I give my 2 cents, but I will never claim his art as mine, and it would be the same thing. So we are the Flash. I'm like, no, we're not. And that's when I stopped watching the Flash. Same thing with Green Arrow. When it became Felicity, I stopped watching.
Yeah, they started doing all the Crisis crossover stuff. I was like, man, this is getting hard to watch. Because I finished, I begrudgingly finished Green Arrow. I tried watching Flash, but I never could really get into it. But like Supergirl, I never really watched anything. And then anything after that, I just didn't have time for whatever reason. And I'm like, well, whatever, man.
I love those kind of shows that kind of give you a different perspective. It's not just Batman, it's not just Superman, you're getting the other people.
Yeah.
But then when they make it all centered around their significant other, that was always my issue. I'm like,
look, stories here and there, but that's all you need.
Yeah, like it doesn't need to be centered around her. It doesn't.
I liked Kevin Smith's take on Green Arrow. So that's initially what got my attention with the TV shows. Okay, I enjoyed this series, so let me see what they did with him on the TV. And then the first couple seasons, I was like, oh, this is good. The Suicide Squad, I thought, was done really well in the Green Arrow, and I was wanting some of them to be in the movie before I knew who all was going to be in it. And then I got pretty disappointed when I saw that none of them from the show were going to be in the movie, but whatever.
I liked Suicide Squad 2 because I think in that one they really let you see Harley's mental illnesses.
Yeah.
Like, they really let you see it.
Yeah.
Like, she's a little schizo.
A little?
Because that's what was missing from my life. The inside of a crazy woman. She shoots a gun and flowers shoot out of it because that's what she's seeing. I'm like, no, I know she's crazy.
Or like, she's getting punched in the face and she's singing and then she just breaks his neck.
It's like the Birds of Prey movie. The only part I really liked is like the first 5 minutes when she was talking about her relationship with Joker and how she finally had enough and decided to walk out. After that, it just turned into, I don't know what.
I think the only scene in that
one. Yeah, then she goes running a Black Mask. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm like.
The one.
Days of Our Lives, the Batman edition.
Yeah, right? It's exactly how it is, too.
In Birds of Prey, the scene that was my favorite, the one that I was like, that could have been ripped right out of a comic book, was her in the apartment with her hyenas.
Yeah.
And I was like, that makes total sense. That's Harley. That's completely Harley. And then there's the big explosion.
Her head is a bag of cats. You can smell crazy on her.
Well, yeah. That's kind of the point.
But yeah, I've always had this thing about me that if you're going to make a movie of a known franchise, you should work on what made it so focus on what made it so popular or popular enough to make a movie out of. People will go and watch the movie and then they'll tell their friends that aren't comic book fans, hey, you need to watch this movie. It was great. So much of what they do now, it's like they just take the name and do whatever the hell they want with it. And then the only thing they seem to contribute to it is pandering. Because it is just, I don't know.
Yeah, the comic was, like, for the longest time, it was Huntress, Oracle, and Black Canary.
Yeah, there for a little while, Harley was on the team, or at least adjacent to it. It's like, all right, no big deal. But that movie, all they did was take the name and they did what they wanted with it. None of the other characters were the least bit identifiable.
Put some of them in the suit. That would help.
Yeah.
So we've drifted from Batman. Now we're in Batman adjacent.
So let's get back on track. So we labeled the episode "Partying in Gotham City" with the Batman franchises. So you don't have Batman without Gotham City. So what are your takes on the city itself? Was it based on Chicago? I seem to remember reading that somewhere along the line.
I want to say
New
maybe
York, Chicago.
I think I've always looked at Metropolis as more New York. So I was thinking that Jersey or Chicago, something like that. Because depending on what comic book you're reading, it's like across the bay from Metropolis or something. Yeah. So I've always pictured it as like a Jersey or Chicago type city.
I'd probably say more Chicago because of the amount of organized crime, the mobster. Yeah. You know, I'm not saying that New York didn't have that during that time, but it seems like Chicago really, that was kind of like what they were known for, that deep dish pizza. You know? So I would say Gotham is probably more Chicago than it is either New York or something across the bay. It's like they took Chicago and moved it to Jersey.
So, I did some research.
Which I've done in my comic books. I took Modesto, California, and moved it to the Bay Area. So
I did.
Oh, sorry, I muted it.
That's okay. I'll unmute myself. I did some research, and so Metropolis was based straight off of New York City. Their buildings and everything reflect New York City, but Gotham City is based off of a mixture of New York City and Chicago, and a village in England near Nottingham. So those three together created Gotham City in 1941.
It's probably where they got the Gothic influences.
So that was their three cities that they put together to create Gotham, but Metropolis was based strictly off of New York. Because I do the researches.
That is cool. I mean, I didn't realize. I just generically assumed that it was like Chicago or New York, just because the corruption and it's, you know, it seems to be set in America. So, and then you have to almost, but you almost have to go like certain parts because of the mountain angle with the Bat Cave. Like you almost need certain, like you couldn't do in eastern coast of Virginia in the Hampton Roads area. You couldn't do that because you dig that deep, you're getting water. So I mean, unless it's Aquaman, you're not getting a Bat Cave.
So they said that there is actually a Gotham village in England that was near Nottingham, and apparently the people there were all very, very foolish. Like they did weird things for the time, but that became part of Gotham City. They took that stuff and then mixed it with New York and Chicago, and you have Gotham City.
There is a Gotham, New York, but they pronounce it Gotham.
Gotham.
Goat ham is what I heard because, you know, why not?
Ham.
Who doesn't like ham and goat?
Yeah.
Goat cheese ham sandwich. Come on.
There you go. See, you're cooking with Crisco.
So salty. Oh yeah, cooking with goat cheese, buddy. I'm making poutine tomorrow.
Yeah, that's just gross. Do you think Batman could exist outside of Gotham City? Could he work anywhere else?
Metropolis.
I don't know, because Gotham is almost like a character itself.
I think so too.
It's definitely a character within the
I
franchise.
don't know that it would be as interesting. I've never been as interested in Batman when he's outside of Gotham. I know occasionally he has to chase down some villain in China or wherever.
Central City.
When he fought Ra's al Ghul, he had to go to the Middle East or whatever. Stuff like that's okay to change things up. But I think that at this point, Gotham has gotten to be its own character.
No, I agree. You're absolutely right. Especially over the last 3 decades in Batman stories, where they've really gone into the lore of what makes Gotham Gotham, how it was founded. Like the Court of Owls really dug deep into that.
That's one of the things I liked about the Court of Owls. It wasn't just some obscure group. They actually went into backstory and found a way to tie it into the lore of Batman.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of The Fog by John Carpenter, where you had this founding fathers and the sins of the father got passed down throughout the generations. So there's a bit of that going on. Gotham definitely has its unique style with its Gothic architecture and the gargoyles that they use. Jim Lee is really good at using that. Like every time Batman's standing on a building, it's on some demon-looking gargoyle on the side of a building.
There's a very specific type of architecture you need to reference when you're drawing anything in Gotham City.
You have to look at old world Europe, during the Middle Ages, maybe the Renaissance. I think that's what makes Gothic City so unique, is because it is a modern city with this old world European type ambiance to it, with how they decorate their buildings and their architecture. It's pretty cool stuff, and it's hard to replicate. I think I would love to draw a Batman comic book. I think I would fail short in drawing backgrounds. I'd actually fail short I could draw Batman all day. I could draw his rogues gallery all day.
Yeah.
It's the architecture that's involved with the city I think would give me the most unique challenge as an artist.
Oh, definitely.
And it's something I'd be willing to take on, given the chance, but I don't know, man. It would slow me down a hell of a lot because of all the research I would have to do on how those buildings are supposed to look.
One of the things I did like about Court of Owls, though, is it introduced a new villain that I didn't find as interesting since Azrael came out. I know they had created new villains between the two, but for me, since I never read a lot of Batman exclusively, since I follow artists more than anything, Court of Owls, for me, when they introduced, was it Talon, I believe his name was?
The Talons, yeah.
I found him just as interesting as I did the original Azrael when Quesada drew him.
Yeah. And that leads me.
All right. Well, he froze. So while he's contemplating whatever broke his brain, we are going to keep going.
What did you do to him?
I don't know. Stabby.
I stabbed him. No, his computer did a reset on him, so you guys get to just stare at that picture of his pretty little face.
We are going to screenshot that later. Trust me, that is going to be so hilarious.
So you got him talking about the architecture and he froze.
Yeah, so...
well, I was looking into it, and so basically what they were trying to say is, even though Central City with the Flash is based off of certain cities in Ohio, they have it just outside of Metropolis, and then Metropolis is just outside of Gotham. So it's kind of like the tri-state area up there with Jersey, New York, and Newark is what they were saying. And then they were saying that Metropolis is kind of like the daytime New York, where all the tourists go, and it's so cool to see all the things. And then Gotham is the nighttime New York, where Son of Sam comes out and stuff like that. Just saying. I
always figured it was something like that.
They're supposed to be like mirror images of each other. Like this is what it is like during the day, and this is what it is like at night.
Okay. So
mirror universes? I don't know.
So I know Spider-Man has gone to so many multiverse dimensions. It's like whenever we're out of ideas, we just pull from a different dimension. Did Batman ever do that?
No, not that I know of.
Not
but that's one of the things I like about it. he's got such a wide variety of villains to choose from that he never really. I mean, he got involved in was it the Crisis? Hold on.
The only one that
The Crisis of Infinite Earths and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He gets involved in stuff like that, but for the most part, he's never necessarily been a dimension hopping person because he's so concerned. Well, like kind of like Daredevil, he's more concerned with defending his little territory. That it's not that he doesn't care; just he's more concerned with where he's at rather than trying to fix everybody else's problems.
Yeah, I think the only time that you ever see interdimensional travel like that in the universe is when Flash starts messing with things.
Yep.
They showed it really well in the new Flash movie. Is he's trying to go back and save his mom, and he starts messing with things, and we go from Ben Affleck Batman to Keaton Batman to George Clooney Batman. All because the Flash was messing around. And they even throw in little glimpses of Adam West and
The older ones.
the older ones. Like, even like the weird hippy dippy one where they're doing the weird dancing. So they
You guys
only
are going to
show...
hate me, but I actually kind of liked Val Kilmer as well.
I did like Val Kilmer. I always forget about him. I'm horrible.
Well, now
when it
Nick
comes
can tell
to...
you you're not horrible if his computer is working.
Look, there he is. But when it comes to interdimensional travel and Batman, I think that's the only way that it ever really happens is when the Flash is messing with things.
So speaking with messing with things, that's a horrible segue. But anyway, so a lot of the times it feels like some of the stuff they write into the comics and put into the movies is purely because, oh, we want Hasbro to make the new toy, right? Like it feels like a money grab. So are there any of the accoutrements, the vehicles, whatever, that Batman has that you think he could do without and it would still not change anything? For me, it was the boat.
Yeah, you get rid of the boat.
I always felt like it was just a bad one.
The Batwing too. Probably.
I can see that. Well, no, I like the Batwings. There are times where he needed to fly after somebody.
Yeah, before that, it was the Bat Jet. It didn't have the cool name of the Batwing. It didn't look like his symbol. He had the Bat Jet, and it looked like an SR-71 Blackbird.
Well, I don't like to keep coming back to this, but it kind of fits the question in the Batman Lego movie. When,
I don't even count that, really. I mean, it's a.
I don't think we should because it's hilarious.
Hardly.
It plays on the Batman tropes.
But when Robin comes into the Batcave for the first time, he's like bouncing around. He's like, "Can I drive this Batmobile? Can I drive this Batmobile? Can I fly the Black Pan? Can I do this?" And there was like a Bat crane. There was like a Bat jet.
Oh, so he can move his giant penny and dinosaur around.
I did like even the Bat bike, but yeah, I agree that the boat.
Yeah, I don't think that was necessary.
No.
It did sell toys in '92 with Batman Returns, and I'm guilty of it because I owned it. So, but at that age, I was taking showers and not taking baths. So, like, I just felt stupid with an action figure in the shower. I'm like, it's the Bat Heavy Rainstorm vehicle now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It felt like that was extra. I mean, it makes sense in some settings, but it never felt like it fit for Gotham to me.
No.
The canals were never that big.
Gimmicky.
Yeah.
Not even sure if gimmicky is even a word, but that's what it seemed like.
It is now.
All words made up.
What do? I make up words and misspell them.
Yes.
Even today,
I'm a word maker.
So
today they like if you buy a Batman costume, it comes with the basics. It comes with your Batman suit. It comes with your cape. It comes with your belt
and the cowl,
utility belt, and it comes with batarangs.
So let's talk about those costumes. What is your favorite Batmobile? What is your favorite Batman outfit? I go back to the original. I know it's kind of it seems passe these days, like a little too, I don't know, whatever. But I like the original look with that he. Of course, you got to have the right figure to pull that off in public.
It's true.
Yeah,
I mean,
and a big wing.
Not the stormtrooper, if you know what I'm saying.
I actually have pictures of my son in every single Batman costume. Because for the first 6 years of his life, that's all he wanted to be. So I had him in the gray suit, the gray with the blue, the gray with the yellow, the black and the yellow, the black on black. He had all of the Batman costumes. And they all came with batarangs.
Yeah.
All
and he has a stepdad that draws comic books and zero interest.
It's funny how kids do that. You have all these things you're passionate about. Like, I can't wait to share this with the kids, and they're like, "Yeah, that's just not cool, Dad." Moving on.
Yeah. Like he's huge into GI Joes and comic books, and I'm like, I'm literally a GI Joe action figure. I'm like 90% beachhead.
We should do a GI Joe episode. That would be kind of cool.
That'd be awesome.
I absolutely love G.I. Joe. It's always been one of my favorite cartoons. I detest the movies.
It's funny you should mention that because G.I. Joe aired yesterday in 1985.
I found it on Tubi, and I watched every episode I could find on there.
Yeah, I've been watching it too. That and Voltron.
Voltron was pretty cool, but G.I. Joe was my go-to. I liked it more than He-Man and GoBots and Thundercats and all that. G.I. Joe was my thing.
I can't tell you how many times I almost missed the bus because they would play the syndicated G.I. Joe in the morning. So I'd be eating my cereal, getting ready for school, and it was a very narrow margin from the time that episode ended for when the bus showed up in my neighborhood to go to school. So there was times where I was running because I was just super into the episode. Banging on the bus door. Let me in! I want to go to school. Not really.
I've got the animated movie that they did
with Falcon.
Not Falcon, I think so, but
it was Cobra Law.
I saw that one in theaters.
Cobra or G.I. Joe base.
I saw the G.I. Joe movie in theaters, but I'm talking about the one they had the animation style looked like the DC style. And a lot of it was with Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes fighting. I can't remember the specific one right now, but it ended.
Sigma?
No.
Or was it before that?
I've got it in the living room, but I love the animation style. It was more of an adult take on the G.I. Joe franchise, but it was still animated. So I was like, I love it. But then they had the series a few years ago, it only lasted 2 years, where Zartan was a biker, and then they had Duke, Tunnel Rat, Roadblock, and one or two others.
I love Chuckles.
I thought that one was pretty good too. And then that G.I. Joe movie was one of the few times I've actually been disappointed or genuinely disappointed at the movie theater. I wanted to get out and leave. That's how bad it was.
So did you know that the G.I. Joe movies that came out, the ones with Channing Tatum?
Yeah.
Those were all that Hasbro could launch the new G.I. Joe action figures, the 6-inch ones.
Yeah. I wouldn't.
That was strictly for that. They even talked about it at Comic-Con.
Well, I still got a couple on my wall too. I don't know if you guys can see them.
Of course you have Leatherneck.
I have the 1983 G.I. Joe base in the other room.
Having said that,
all right, show us the stuff. All right, we got it. We're going show and tell here, people. This is why you grow up, so you can afford all the cool stuff.
That's because I did this because I was a Marine, and then I have this guy over here because I'm a paratrooper too.
Marines don't have paratroopers. Don't lie.
But I've got the recon does.
I know. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah. I wasn't recon, but I got crazy legs because he's cool too.
Yeah, it's Beachhead. That's me.
I always liked the relationship between.
Show him again.
Yes, sir.
Between Leatherneck and Wetsuit.
Nice.
That's my guy.
That would be a dream project for me to do a G.I. Joe comic.
They used to be in the Kindle Open World universe thing that they did for a while, and you could write G.I. Joe books, and then they closed that, which kind of sucks because that would have been fun.
I'm not going to lie. I've actually made G.I. Joe type characters that I'm trying to figure out how to use because I think they would be that much fun to do.
Yeah, the one thing that always struck me as funny is how you could keep shooting all the time and nobody ever got hit.
Yeah,
that and the Stormtroopers were the same way
with lasers.
And the good guys had red lasers. That was the weird part. Cobra had blue lasers, and the good guys had red lasers. That's another episode entirely.
Yeah, we're definitely doing this episode, and you're coming back, Evil Ginger. All right, so let's wrap this up by bringing it home to Batman. So what do you want to see in the future of Batman? Do you think that they should abandon it until they learn to love it first? Or is there something you want to see with them doing with Batman?
As much as I like Batman, I think they need to lay off him a little bit because DC has such a wide variety of other characters that they can focus on. Because like I said earlier, I tend to like the more obscure characters more, and it seems like all they want to do is just Superman and Batman stories. But yeah, they're great, but come on, guys, you have other characters you can use.
That's true. In regards to Batman, yeah, he's probably the most retconned, rebooted, redone, other than Superman. Well, not even Superman's been redone that much.
This was the G.I. Joe one I couldn't remember the name to.
Oh, Resolute, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one. It was the anime style.
Yeah.
I had Chuckles. That was one of my favorites just because the Hawaiian shirt. And I had Shipwreck as a kid. Those were my two favorites.
Well, I was trying to think of like an ideal team, but we can figure that out when we do the G.I. Joe show.
We're definitely going to do that. So where do you want to see them going with Batman? Or do you think they should just step back until I know a lot of people are at superhero fatigue because they've just flooded the market. And it's not even good stuff.
I've heard of that too. I think it's more they're tired of bad storytelling instead of superhero fatigue.
I think it's writer fatigue more than anything.
Because I know some people are just they love superhero books, but I don't know how many times people complain they're tired of the pandering. It's fine if you want to create a character that's a minority of whatever ethnicity or sexual preference. That's fine. Make up a character. Don't suddenly say, "Oh, this known character that people have loved for decades is suddenly gay, bi, straight, whatever."
Like Tim Drake.
Yeah, or Iceman.
I said we're gay now.
Yeah, or Iceman is suddenly gay.
Gay.
I remember, I can't remember exactly when, but Alpha Flight had one of the characters, North Star. They made a story out of him. I want to say in the 90s, late 90s.
Yeah, I got that issue. It's
they made an actual
openly
story.
Gay hero.
Yeah, they made an actual story, developed the character, and built a story around the character they developed. And he came out in the mid 90s or late 90s, and that's fine because you actually did storytelling and you developed a character. Now we're just going to reboot so and so, and I'm surprised they haven't tried to make Batman some kind of sexual minority now.
They have.
So I think it's more like I just don't understand making certain minuscule facets of your identity your whole identity. Like you're more than just what you do at home. I've written gay characters. I've written even trans characters, but it wasn't like that was more incidental and it fit with that character because it made sense. I think retconning is because that has less to do with the authors and more to do with the publishing companies. If you work for Hasbro most of the time and you make a new character and it sells gangbusters and they've got the toys, the movies and all that, they got to share that with you because you created it. If you take the existing characters and you just twist them a little bit, then they don't have to share anything with you. So it's more about they don't want to treat their authors right than
the creators in general. That's the big reason why when you asked if you wanted to work for DC, that would be a big reason why I wouldn't want to work for them was because they would try to find a way to screw me, and it wouldn't be a fun way.
All right, and on that note, I guess we'll wrap up the Batman talk, and we're talk, and we're going to be
Batman's cock. What?
I like your cup, Stabby, and we're going to come back to another episode where we're going to talk about all things GI Joe, and
Awesome.
Hasbro and corporate America, otherwise known as. I mean, have you seen all the memes where Cobra is like the good guy because they give benefits to all of their employees? Like, got the rec room, they got the health and fitness, they got the health care.
They got their own rap album.
The
Did you know they had their own rap album?
I had found it on Tubi. There's actually an episode in there where they were talking about Cobra had this like spa thing that they had created, where the Cobra, it was like a benefit of being a Cobra member is that you got to go to this vacation spa for like a week or whatever it was
on Cobra Island,
something like that. And it's like wow.
And eventually it became their own country. There was a lot of songs written about that on the, what was the name of that CD? It was like a whole.
It was called Cobra Island.
Cobra Island, yeah. There's a rap CD called Cobra Island.
Backstory of
and it goes over
Snake Eyes,
Storm Shadow, and Snake Eyes' little duel.
Their backstory and everything.
Yeah, like talking about like Snake Eyes coming back from Vietnam, then he gets recruited by the Joes, and it's pretty cool. I'll send it to you.
Please do, and if you can, we'll link it to the show notes where people can go check it out for themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
So, as this episode winds down, do you have a favorite memory of your time spent in Gotham with Batman? For me, it always goes back to watching it with my grandfather.
I think I'm in the same boat. I watch Batman with my grandpa.
Watching Batman 66 with my mom.
Yeah. What about you, John?
I don't know. Yeah, my parents have always been supportive. They knew that I love comic books since my stepdad first got me into it. So for me, just letting me explore the way I wanted was enough for me. I've always enjoyed just being able to read the comics. And then especially as I got to a point where I could start making them myself, it's always been fun for me just to be there, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the part, dear listener, where we remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms, even with the evil properties of Marvel and DC. Please review what you read, because it is the lifeblood of the comic and book industry. It helps the right readers find the right content. So please do your part.
Was that phrase you have, JR? Reviews get you views?
Sure. We'll go with that.
That's what I'm doing wrong.
The reviews get you views. They do. And they help the right readers find the right book, because please be kind and speak your mind. And I stole that shamelessly when I paraphrased the old Blockbuster signs they used to have, where you'd go in there and the drop off, please be kind and rewind.
I never rewound.
I read this whole thing about how you were putting unnecessary pressure on it by getting it rewound. And so it was bad for it. But I'm just like, well, it's pressure the other way if you don't rewind it. I don't understand how it makes one bit of difference. But he had this whole theory on it. And every time we returned the movies, because it was like Friday, you'd go after school, you'd rent the movie. You'd have pizza and popcorn and watch a movie while your parents went on a date. And because we were latchkey kids, they just left us alone. I know, like you'd be at local news at 9 if you did it now, but that was the thing back then.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are?
Because they didn't know where we were. We were out. Like, that was the rule. You come back with the street lights.
We were treated like a burden. It's like, oh, well, survival of the fittest. And I come to think of it, that's probably the best way to raise kids.
The free-range kids, they call it now. We just called it childhood back then.
I was expected to be home before the street lights came on. And if you didn't, there were you knew you were in trouble, put it that way.
I was about to get the E Honda 100-hand slap on my ass.
Yeah.
Some of our listeners tell us about the deadly sandals that they would get, the chancla of love.
Now, my mom wasn't Puerto Rican. She's Irish, so piss her off if you want to.
My mom had the Tupperware spoons, and you know Tupperware don't break, so.
No. Because after a while, though, after a while, my mom would be like, all right, whatever. She just kept a tally of what I did, because apparently I was a mischievous kid. She wouldn't do much. My dad was a truck driver as a kid, and he'd come home like weekly. Yeah, for most time he'd come home weekly, and I would think, hey, Mom forgot about this. We hadn't got home yet.
Dad was
John did that. John did this. And I was like, oh crap!
You are not going to sit down tonight.
No.
All right. So
Nope.
speaking of sitting down tonight, when you sit down to buy the next thing you want to enjoy, John, how can they find you so they can buy your stuff?
Go to Seclusion Studios on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me.
And we will link all of that in the show notes. You can find us on our link tree, linktr.ee. Our link tree is at linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast. We linked all the things, the BitChute, the Rumbles, the Twitters, the emails, our Facebook group over at /groups/ or slash, whatever. There's a slash involved. Blasters and Blades podcast. And we have all the shenanigans there. Enjoy the conversation. We have talked about, because we don't want to only support the Zuckerberg, we want to give a little bit more diverse ways for them to find us. We've looked into the possibilities of a Discord channel. I just am not that tech savvy, so it's something we're considering.
I have wondered about that. I got it a Threads account, but I've heard of the Discord. I just haven't looked into it. I've even got a whatnot account at this point that I haven't done anything with
account.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me hold on. Let me double check. Because I know
Make sure that you have your OF account.
I had to wait for them to approve it. Yeah, whatnot.
Okay.
I haven't done anything with it yet.
So we have our email, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com, where you can send us serious inquiries only, because we link on the link tree to Madam Stabby Stab's Instagram and Twitter, and that's where all of our hate mail will now be directed. If she makes you cry, that's on you, people. And I am disappointed
Just
that
remember,
so far
I will cut you.
we need that on a t-shirt. I have not heard any feedback that we've gotten hate mail yet, and I'm disappointed. So it should be better. Do better.
Apparently they're too scared.
That's it.
All it takes is having an independent thought now, and you're going to get in trouble.
This is true. So we have our website is anchor.fm/blasters tag blades. Again, anchor.fm/blasters-and-blades, where for as little as 99 cents a month, you can support the show and help keep the lights on. We would greatly appreciate it if you did. And, Stabby does like her shoes, so, that also helps. And if you want to support the show more directly, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. And every time I get the slash wrong, you are watching my traumatic brain injury brain trying to figure out this change. And this might take a decade, people. So just bear with me. It's like the numbers aren't adding up. Column A and column B are just not equal anymore. And with that being said, thank you for spending your precious time with us. For Nick, Garber, Doc Cisca, and Madam Stabby Stab, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. Shakalaka. All right.
Batman Day.
Happy Batman Day. Thanks for coming on, John. This was a lot of fun.
No problem. Oh, I subscribe to your YouTube as well.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We are on the Rumble and the BitChute, and we are working on Odyssey. I don't know what that is, but I heard someone else mention it. So I said, well, you can't be on too many platforms, so why not?
No.
So.
John